Well, the neighbourhood really does strike me as a concept which looks at the European Union as the core, and a core which is surrounded by a neighbourhood. So the reason why I've always felt actually quite uneasy with the concept is precisely because of what strikes to me as a very Eurocentric approach to view the world. Now, I think there was, in a sense, some logic to it at an international moment in which, in a post-Cold War moment in which the feeling really was of not only of a broader international context defined by US hegemony, but within which, a context in which the European Union was a core that expanded its goodness to other neighbouring regions. Today, that concept is not only Eurocentric, but very strident with reality. So I have no problem with talking about particular neighbours that the European Union has, meaning those countries that are neighbouring the European Union. I have no problem with the idea of the European Union having different regions that surround it, so different surrounding regions. But I do have, and I always have had, the problem with the monolithic neighbourhood surrounding the Union. Well, I think the challenge really is that of defining a foreign policy towards countries that are beyond the EU's borders. And it's a foreign policy that does not and should not simply boil down to sort of crude realpolitik, but of course cannot be detached from what are the broader geopolitical developments in our region. And by our region, I mean the EU, the Middle East, the Western Balkans, Eastern Europe, I mean our region, as in not Europeans, but our shared, if you like, region. So it is about developing a foreign policy, and at the same time, and this is particularly true for countries that are not, strictly speaking, in the neighbourhood policy, but they are neighbours of the European Union, in particular the Western Balkans, rethinking not only the enlargement process, which particularly, and we've seen this very clearly after the huge strategic blunder made by the European Council by denying North Macedonia and Albania the possibility to open accession negotiations last week. So there is obviously the need to reacquire credibility in that process, but there is also the need, and I think here it is important to speak truth about the situation, rethinking what happens once countries actually get into the European Union. I mean, to sort of think back that a country like Hungary was the first in the class during the enlargement process of the 1990s and early 2000s. And very clearly something has gone wrong. So I think it is a legitimate question to ask not only how to make the enlargement policy more credible, but how to ensure that a successful enlargement policy, which therefore ends in membership, actually ensures that those standards that are required on the outside are then kept once a particular country becomes a member state of the European Union. On that second question, so how to ensure that those democratic standards can be maintained within the EU, I think there is no other way than developing methods of conditionality inside the Union. Now, obviously, the place to start is developing them within the framework of the multi-annual financial framework, which is the big task ahead. If the EU actually does manage to do something other than Brexit at the moment.
Thank you.